there, this is Ron, and I get a lot of questions on how to properly use VAs to take all the workload off of you so you can spend your time making decisions, which is what entrepreneurs are supposed to do and not do all the grunt work. So I thought I'd take some time today and tell you what we use VAs for. As you know, we have a VA service, but whether you use our service or your own VAs or whatever, the rules are still the same. There's a lot of things you can get the VAs to do. So I'm going to go back to the whiteboard here and I'll go down them piece by piece. And Elliot, you keep that camera off of my protruded muscle here now, so keep it up high.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, I wrote down some things here, and there's a buy side and a sell side, so let's talk about what we use VAs for on both sides. And then you can decide, well, what you should be asking yourself is, gosh, if I did all of this, actually if I didn't do all of this and I had other people doing it, just how much time would I now be freed up to do the important things that I've got to do? And that's a very good question that needs to be asked to yourself, because you know, I know, 90% of all the crap you do every single day is a gross waste of your time, and you shouldn't be doing it. Remember, the less I do, the more I make. Some wise guy once told me that. And I'm telling you, it changed my life when I learned that. And no, you won't learn it overnight. No, it's not an instant process. I can't wave a magic wand over your head and say, heal. You've got to decide that I'm going to clean up my use of my time. I'm going to decide what's the best use of it, and constantly work daily to get other people to do all of the stuff that I don't really want to do. And in fact, most of this stuff you don't even want to do. So why do it? Get somebody else to do it. So let's start with buying houses. And here's the, there's probably some things on here. I know there's some things on here that I missed. Well, let's look at the important ingredients that I think you should use a VA for. Number one, somebody better be calling those FSBOs, for sale by owner leads. Because if they're not calling those FSBO leads, you don't need to worry about the rest of this stuff because you don't have a business. If leads aren't coming into your system, you're done. You don't have a business. You sit around and you wonder why I don't have any business, because you're not doing anything to generate the business. Somebody's got to call FSBO leads. No matter what business you do, you've got to locate prospects. That's step one of the 5 steps to success. So with a VA calling these FSBOs that are advertised on the internet, and with signs in front of their yards when you send them to them, and ads that you run and send to your VAs, when they call these FSBOs, you've got a constant flow of leads. My friends, you should be getting at least 10 to 20 of these per week. And if you're not, you really don't have a business. You're just playing around. Because in order for you to get 10 to 20 of these a week, you've got at least a deal or two a week sitting right there. At least a deal or two a week. But not if they're not called. And when I say call them, I'm talking about filling out the property information sheet. That's the hard part, because they got to call them again till they get them. And by the way, here in our VA service, a full 20% of the people we try to reach, we never get a hold of after 3 attempts. You hear what I said? 3 attempts and still cannot reach 20% of the total lead pool from around the country that we're calling for our clients. What does that tell you? It tells you that people don't want to be reached. It amazes me. They run ads and they don't answer their telephone. That or they've already sold their property or whatever, but we can't reach 20% of them. And the rest of them we have to call sometimes 2 or 3 times. That is grunt labor. That is labor you should not be doing. And then when they call them, they got to fill out this property information sheet so we can get the answers to determine whether we want to go further or not. All done for you. Let them do it. You don't need to do that front end work. Let them talk to all the people that need to have a house for sale. Most of them are pleasant, some of them are grouchy. Let them talk to them. Now when you get on the telephone, you're talking to people that say, yes, I'm okay with terms. All right. Somebody has to research those FSBOs. In other words, somebody has to go online, find the for sale by owner ads, pull them out, and then have the other FSBO or other VAs call the FSBOs. In our building, we have people that don't do anything but that, and then we have people that don't do anything but research. I found these two don't mix. If you have a VA do research, you will not get them to call FSBOs, because they'll do more research because they don't want to call the FSBOs. So they must be separated. In our case, we have, I don't know how, I think we have 2 people that don't do anything but the research, and then the rest of them call FSBOs. And then we have several other people that do all the other stuff that doesn't fall into those 2 categories, like running ads. Running ads to find sellers. There's several websites, and they have to constantly be updated, like Craigslist. And every couple of days somebody's got to go on there and refresh that ad or ads, and then there's several other sites that you should be doing the same on. And guess what happens if you rely on you to do it? Let me give you a minute. The answer is nothing. And if it does happen, it doesn't happen consistently. If you're swapping a little bit of your money for somebody else's time and it becomes their job, then those ads will get run. And now you have a front-end machine supplying you with leads because of the few little things that you did for the minimal cost of a VA. By the way, see what that says? Do not let your VAs take phone calls, period. They don't take phone calls because they got the same problems you do. They're never ready, catches them off guard, they're not on duty 24 hours a day, sometimes they're in a bad mood. So I don't want the VAs to take the calls. I want Pat Live to take the calls from the sellers, send the information to you, and then you send it to your VA if you want that house called. Some of them you'll call out. So again, very, very, very simple system. But without these three things going on, preferably by a VA, again, you got no business. So we can just eliminate this bottom part because you don't need to worry about selling houses you're never going to buy. All right, let's get into the selling part. All right. You got it under contract to either buy or lease with an option. Now it's time to put it on the market. First thing you want to do is you got to create one of those info pages, like on Craigslist or postlets.com. You know, the one with the picture of the house and all the facts and description of the house. People have got to go somewhere to see the house, and that's where they're going to go. In addition to that, you're probably going to want, if you have a website, and we'll furnish you one if you don't have one as part of our VA service. If you have a website, somebody's got to put the pictures of those houses on your website. Well, your VA can do that for you, or our VA can do that for you. So they got to create the flyer first, and then they got to post it. It should be posted on postlets.com, which puts it on several websites, including Zillow. And then it should be posted on your website as well, so people can come see that flyer with the information on it. All right, great. I got my flyer, I got my ad up, so to speak. Now I got to run ads online, free ads, to drive traffic to my website or to that flyer, wherever I'm driving the traffic to. Somebody's got to run those ads. And this has got to be done, almost daily. You got to constantly keep the ads out there, and especially on Craigslist, like I said, and keep them refreshed. It requires somebody doing it. And then, in our case, when people call from our ads and our signs in front of the houses, we drive them to what's called an IVR, which is an interactive voice response system, IVR. That's the same system you get when you call your bank or some big company. You get a voicemail, it asks you a question, you give it an answer, it asks you another question, you give it an answer, and so forth, and it records all the answers. Not like a simple voicemail where you call and there's only one or two things you're going to be able to get people to put on a regular voicemail. This one asks them multiple questions. In this case, it asks them, oh gosh, their name, what house they called on, how much money they have to put down, how many bedrooms do they need, when are they ready to buy, and all of those things you want to know from your buyer. So it captures that information when they call in. Now, of course, your website should have a place for them to put that same information if they come online. Of course, ours does, and yours should. Make sure that it does. So there's only two ways you're going to get contact from buyers. They're either going to call, in our case they call an IVR, 24 hours, and the company that sets us up with this is part of our packages, part of our VA service, and they give you several phone numbers that you can use. And you tie one to each media that you're using to get calls from. For example, if I'm running ads online, that's one number. If I'm putting a sign on my vehicle, that's another number to get calls from buyers. Then I can track where those calls came from. So if they call the IVR, I got the information 24 hours with no humans. If they go online, it's all done for me. But then the next thing that's got to happen is that somebody's got to take this information off of the IVR and off of the site and enter it into the database for your buyers. Our website comes with a database to keep track of your buyers. It's got 19 different fields in it. And so you can pull a report anytime you want. Like say I want all the buyers on the northeast side of town that have $10,000 or more. Your VA can pull those reports for you, and most certainly they can take the information off of your IVR, which is a voice recorded system, and then enter it into your database. If that information comes to your website, then it's automatically entered into your data, at least with our program. So whether you use us or not, you're still going to have the same steps that you should do if you want to get your business automated. Let something take the calls 24 hours a day, and I tell you, you don't need a live human for this one because humans are expensive. We use Pat Live to take calls from sellers because we only get a handful of those. You're going to get 20 times more calls from buyers than you are sellers, and as much as I love Pat Live, that's going to be very expensive. Let the IVR do it. The IVR will ask those questions. I want a human involved when I'm talking to sellers, but an IVR is perfect for buyers because most of them are a waste of your energy and time anyway. Let them weed themselves out automatically. And then your VA comes down and takes the information off. Now somebody calls you with $20,000 down. Guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to call back up and fill out the buyers. I got a script to ask buyers, which gets me all the information that I need, even more than what the IVR. The IVR collects a lot of important facts, but there's other facts I want to know, like what house did you call on, and then in this call, they can be put into another house or another house. They can be given 2 or 3 addresses based on the information that you've collected from them from the IVR. So this call, this follow-up call, is, well, let me see, call prospects. First the prospects have to be called to complete the buyer's sheet so that you can enter all the information into the database. At the same time, they should be given the address of the house they called on and any other addresses that might match them in price range and payment and so forth, which you already know because you know what the most they can pay per month is right on the IVR. But then, after they're sent to the house, they should be called again. This part right here is pretty critical. If somebody isn't following up with the buyers, did you go see the house? Did you like it? What questions can I answer? Do you want to meet? Are you ready to enter into an agreement if we can come to terms type of thing? This follow-up call is very important, and that can also be done by a VA. This, truthfully, is probably going to be done by you, and in fact, I don't have any problem with that because this is the maker or breaker call right here to determine when you get paid. This is one where you get to pick their brain, find out what they got, find out if they can get any more down, find out what the most they can pay per month, and this one should probably be done by you, but I've got a lot of students that have their VAs doing that as well. And then the client, our customer, our investor, only gets involved after the VA has found somebody that likes the house and has got a bunch of money and wants to go. And let's say you're doing an open house. Some of our students do an open house. They get a property under contract, it's vacant. Some Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, they want to drive a thunderous herd of buyers to it from their buyers list. Remember, we've already built our buyers list in this process. The VAs are building it for you. They're running your ads, they're taking your information off, and they're populating your buyers list. So now let's say I got a house on the north side. I just have the VA do a text blast to everybody who's expressed interest in buying a house on the north side that we're going to have an open house out at the house at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Then that drives a thunderous herd of people to that property. Remember, when we put a house on the market, we're putting it on there with terms. Therefore, our buyers are stuck to us kind of like glue. When I offer terms on a nice house in a nice neighborhood, it's not a matter of when do I sell it, it's a matter of picking the person with the most money out of the pile of folks that are interested in the house, because 80% of the people looking to buy a house can't qualify. Well, they can to me if they have enough money down and they can afford a monthly payment. So I want to drive all of them I can to the open house, and while there, we'll pick the best qualified 1 or 2 out of the pile that have the most money and follow up with them to get it to a conclusion, and then get him over to the attorney and close, whether it be a lease purchase or selling it to them on land contract or a wraparound mortgage or whatever it may be. So anyway, these are the critical tasks that a VA can and should be doing for you. And if you let them do all of this, and yeah, I know, it's going to take a little bit of time to get acclimated, let somebody else do all this work for you. You're probably always going to be thinking, well gosh, I probably could do it better. And you know what? Maybe you could, and maybe you couldn't. But the reality is, they're getting it done, and you're thinking about getting it done. This frees you up to do the important stuff that you got to do, which is make decisions. All you got to do, decide which houses you want to buy, decide which buyers you want to accept. Let the VAs do all the other grunt work with a little bit of interference with you along the way to make sure. Of course, you got to make sure the leads are coming in. you got to make sure that the hot prospects are called, and you got to make sure you get out to the house and get contracts. If you'll do that, now you're ready to do this. All you got to do here is tell the VA to go, provide them with the information to fill out the info page, and then pick and choose the best quality prospects. Make sure the ads get run, make sure they do their job. That frees you up to spend very little time in your real estate business like I do. By the way, when we do the convention in September, our VAs are going to call your FSBO leads for you right there on site, and they're actually going to call them before you have an appointment with one of our mentors, because our mentors are going to sit there and make these calls to these FSBOs while you sit there on these leads. But our VAs are going to call the leads and set the appointment so that we save a lot of time, and now we got our mentors sitting there with you making hot closing calls instead of trying to chase them down. We were really, last year we had I don't know, we must have had 200 deals come out of that convention. This year we're going to have more because it's going to be even larger. So if you want to hire our VAs, they can do the research for you, and they can call the FSBOs before you even get to the convention, and then you call the ones that you think you like to set up for you to come to the convention, and we'll call and close the deals for you while you sit there. So gosh, why wouldn't you use VAs? Maybe you think you can't afford it. I'm saying, gosh, can you afford not to use a VA? Because the truth is, if you don't use VAs that do all of that stuff, there's only two other choices. A, you got to use an employee, which is going to be way more costly than a VA, because VAs, whether they're mine or anybody else's, they're going to get paid by the minute that they worked, not by the minute that they're present. Employees are present. That don't mean they're working. VAs, they get paid only for the time that they work. So in reality, they're cheaper than employees. Secondly, maybe you want to do all of this. Well, maybe you do. Well, good. Go ahead and do all of it. And then when you find out that you can't do it all or you won't do it all, then make up your mind. Get help. The less I do, the more I make. By the way, there is a link down below where you can go watch a video of what our VAs do and how we can help you. Go do that right now and make up your mind. Get help now, so we can start making some money instead of getting caught up in minutia. Thanks for watching.